Hi, everyone. We are going to talk about the Luigi Mangione case that's going to be coming up. His trial is going to be coming up this fall. And we are going to talk about UnitedHealthcare today. If you've never been to my channel, I do go over a lot of timelines of high profile cases. I've covered Nancy Guthrie case. I have several videos on that with timelines. I've also covered Tyler Robinson. I have timelines and a staging theory. And it's kind of strange because I've been doing a lot of research on the Mangione case, and there's some similarities and there's definitely some red flags. And I didn't know any of that when I started doing research. So there will be a part 2, part 3, part 4. Probably this is just the beginnings of it. There's so much material that I just broke it down to the healthcare section. I couldn't stop researching it. It was driving me crazy. I'm like, you mean there's more? There's more? There's more? So yeah, if you click on the live part in my video section, that's where the folders are for Tyler Robinson and Nancy Guthrie case so far. But yeah, hit like and subscribe if you like my type of videos. Share the videos if you know people that are into true crime and that are covering these cases, because I cover things that nobody else is covering in the high profile cases. That's why I started doing videos, because nobody was covering things I wanted to learn about. So I would do my research, and I just decided to start posting on YouTube. But anyway, let's get into it. Brian Thompson was the CEO of UnitedHealthcare, and he was shot and killed in Midtown Manhattan on the morning of Wednesday, December 4th, 2024. So this is 2026, months later, 2 years and months later. The reason why the trial is taking so long is because there's state charges and there's federal charges. So Luigi Mangione is charged with murdering Brian Thompson. He is not. We're not going to talk about him as if he's guilty because he hasn't gone to trial yet. So he's innocent until proven guilty by a jury. So we will look at this case that way. Anything that I talk about or have suspicions about are purely for entertainment reasons and not accusatory statements. This is just for entertainment. I do a lot of research and I have a lot of questions, basically. So the New York State case, Mangione is facing 9 felony charges in state court, 1 count of second-degree murder, 2 counts of criminal possession of a weapon in the second degree, 4 counts of criminal possession of a weapon in third degree, 1 count of criminal possession of a weapon in fourth degree, and 1 count of criminal possession of a forged instrument in the second degree. The terrorism-related murder counts were dismissed as legally insufficient. He's also facing 2 federal stalking counts. The original federal indictment also included a murder through firearm charge and a related firearms charge, but those were dismissed in January, which is why the death penalty is no longer on the table. So the death penalty is no longer on the table, but he is facing a lot of charges. And by looking at watching a lot of media, it looks like he's guilty, just like most of the cases, these high profile cases. But I find that a lot of things are injected into the media to make you think stuff real early on, to make you look the other way. And so I'm not looking the other way. I'm digging deep. So who is Brian Thompson? Let's start with that. He was the CEO of UnitedHealthcare, and he earned $10 million in total annual compensation, ranking him among Minnesota's top executives. He lived in Minnesota with his wife and his son. They lived in separate households. She lived right near him. I don't know anything else other than that. What was his education? He graduated from the University of Iowa. He had a BA in Business Administration Accounting in 1997, and he graduated valedictorian. In 1997 and 2004, he was a practicing CPA at PricewaterhouseCoopers in Minneapolis. He worked in audit and later transaction advisory services. But in 2004, he joined UnitedHealthcare. He started out as the Director of Corporate Development, Mergers and Acquisitions. In 2004 to 2017, he served as Chief Financial Operating Officer across 3 UnitedHealthcare business units: Employer and Individual, Community and State, and Medicare and Retirement. In 2017, he was named CEO of UnitedHealthcare Medicare and Retirement, the company's largest business audit, serving seniors and Medicare beneficiaries. Boy, it's awfully dark in here. I wonder if I should turn the light on. Let's see. Let's see if I turn the light on. Sometimes when I have too many lights on, then you can't see me. That's better. In 2017, named CEO of UnitedHealthcare Medicare and Retirement, the company's largest business unit serving seniors and Medicare beneficiaries. In 2019, he was promoted to CEO of government programs overseeing both Medicare and Retirement, Community, and State. In 2001, he was named the CEO of UnitedHealthcare, overall leading roughly 140,000 employees. And as we said, in 2023, it's estimated $10 million in total annual compensation. Pretty wealthy. He was shot and killed on December 4th, 2024 in Manhattan while walking to an investor meeting. He lived in Maple Grove, Minnesota, an affluent Minnesota suburb matching UnitedHealthcare's headquarters in nearby Minnetonka. He owned 2 homes, 5,000 square feet with a chef's kitchen, and second, even larger property. And as I said, the records show that he lived separately. His wife, for several years, they lived separately in properties less than a mile apart. She lived with the couple's younger son while he lived in a nearby second home. A neighbor described him as a good neighbor, noting he was particularly close with people locally, despite the family being well known in the upscale neighborhood. He flown from Minnesota to New York on the 2nd of December for UnitedHealth Group's annual investor meeting and was killed on December 4th outside the New York Hilton Midtown while walking to that meeting. Hours after his death, both Maple Grove homes were targeted in suspected swatting incident. Police received a bomb threat called about the properties that evening, despite no prior history of threats against him or the company. Well, that's not true, because his wife People magazine, a few days after his death, cited her from saying he had gotten death threats. Is that true or not true? I don't know. But if he had gotten death threats before he died, who was that? Why? A CAD report of the incident reveals that Maple Grove City Attorney received the threat in an email. The email claimed that a pipe bomb had been dropped off. If it was near the incident where he was murdered, I would think it was some sort of distraction, but it was in another state. So I'm not sure if a bomb squad was deployed to the location but did not find any explosives. People interviewed several people, including family members. They all said they didn't see anything. But yeah, his wife was quoted as saying, yes, there had been some threats, basically. And it's a quote. I don't know, a lack of coverage. I don't know details, Paulette told the outlet. I just know that he said there were some people that had been threatening him. Doesn't sound like Luigi. Sounds like something else to me. What do you think? Post in the comments. But we're going to cover UnitedHealthcare because there's a lot going on with UnitedHealthcare that sets them apart from other big, huge healthcare companies. I mean, some of their scandals are very similar to other companies, but some aren't. So we are going to cover stock manipulation scandal in 2006, alleged Medicare billing fraud, antitrust laws and mergers, and a ransomware extortion that happened. How about that? Is that not weird? That's really weird. And the more I found out, the weirder it got. And it's like, okay, but we're supposed to believe that some kid that's family is wealthy, by the way, and I'll go into more detail about his family in my next video because I'm going to go through the timeline of what happened that day, just like I did with Tyler Robinson, and a possible staging theory where somebody else did it and set him up. And I'll go over Luigi more. Right now, we're talking about UnitedHealthcare because nobody's talking about UnitedHealthcare. Everybody's talking about how healthcare's decline to pay claims and turn people away that are really sick. And that's the big outcry. But I'm telling you what, I think it's a distraction. I did try to get into who started posting all of that. I didn't find any red flags. But I can tell you this. It could be a distraction. Because what I'm finding is a lot more red flaggish than claims not being paid. So who is UnitedHealthcare? It's one of the largest healthcare organizations in the world by revenue, though its credit outlook has been sliding due to legal and financial pressures we've been discussing, or that we just talked about. Fortune Global 500, UnitedHealthcare is now the fourth largest company in the world, jumping 3 spots to leapfrog Saudi Aramco and other oil giants. Only Amazon, Walmart, and a Chinese state-owned utility bring in more revenue globally. $47.6 billion in the most recent fiscal year, up 11.8% year over year. Its healthcare sector, it's the largest healthcare company in the world by revenue, and it's held that position for years. Profits, despite the revenue growth, profits fell sharply down 16.3% to $12.6 billion, reflecting the cost pressures and legal troubles we've covered. Was Brian a part of something that was going to go down and people didn't want him talking about something? Was he having issues with people? We don't know. We're just speculating. But there's a lot of money floating around here Multiple agencies downgraded UnitedHealthcare's outlook, not the rating itself, from stable to negative in the mid 2025. That's after the the CEO was shot. So it has to do with their legal issues, though. But it remains the financial giant by sheer size and revenue, still holding solid investments, grade ratings across all three major agencies. But the negative outlooks show rating agencies are actively watching how the DOJ investigations and litigations play out. A worsening of either could trigger an actual downgrade, not just an outlook change. Now, this was all brewing before he was shot. Just to give you some context, and we're going to get into details on it. But let's just start with the Security and Exchange Commission, who filed a civil injunctive action against UnitedHealthcare Group in 2006 in Minnetonka, Minnesota health insurance company, alleging that it engaged in a scheme to backdate stock options. Without admitting or denying the allegations, UnitedHealthcare agreed to settle charges that it violated the reporting books and records and internal controls provisions of the federal security laws. This goes on in Congress. Not in Congress backdating dates, but they're certainly buying stocks when they have insider trader information. So we've heard about that over the years. But this is what happened. Executives secretly retroactively dated stock option grants when the company's share price was at historic lows, guaranteed instant paper profits while hiding the true costs from the shareholder in 2006. That possibly went on for 12 years. That's speculated. The Department of Justice claims it's only been 7 years. Who were the beneficiaries that did this? The CEO at the time, William Maguire, and the COO, Chief Operating Officer, Stephen Hemsley. Maguire made an estimated $600 million, and Hemsley a $200 billion profit from doing this. They only faced fines of $7 million that went to the Treasury. $418 million went back to the investors. So I did a lot of research. How come they weren't criminally charged? There's like an umbrella coverage why these big CEOs for these big companies can just pay and get out of jail free, because the Department of Justice doesn't want to litigate it because it's so expensive. So they just can pay a fine. And that's been going on for years. Apparently, the past 20 or 30 years, it's been worse, where they're never criminally charged, personally. The company is being charged. And so the company just pays the fine. I think that's bizarre, but it goes on. It's not bizarre. That's not the only company that it's happened to. Now, the second allegation, this is an allegation of fraud, billing fraud. And this started in 2009 to 2005. There was a whistleblower, I guess it's two, Poling and Swabin. The first lawsuit alleging UnitedHealthcare submitted false Medicare claims by manipulating risk adjustment data. And then in 2009, so it was 2009 and 2011, two separate people did a whistleblower claim, which if you blow the whistle on a company like that, you can get compensation, and then you have some sort of protections. Poen, a former United Health finance director, files a separate whistleblower claim alleging a scheme called Project 7 designed to boost operation income by $100 million through improper coding. I guess this is normal for other companies to do too. I looked at it, I'm like, are other insurance companies doing this? Yeah, apparently they are too. I don't know the statistics. I'm just saying, wondered if they were the only one, if this scam is really big. Yeah, apparently there's a whole slew of them doing it. The core allegation is UnitedHealth reviewed patient records to find underpayments, conditions Medicare hadn't been billed for, while ignoring evidence of overpayments, artificially inflating risk scores to trigger high reimbursements. Total alleged improper payments reached over $2 billion. We're talking about Medicare, falsely billing Medicare. And two whistleblowers, 2009 and 2011, blew the whistle on them. There's a whole bunch of stuff, hearings and stuff in between it all. But in February 2008, the Department of Justice abandoned parts of its case after a judge dismissed some of the claims. Department of Justice chose not to amend and strengthen its arguments. March 3rd, 2025, court appointed special masters. Now, this is after Brian died. So I'm not sure if specific people could have been held accountable and criminally charged in this. I think possibly. But they just kept squirming out of it. And then finally, they appointed March 3rd, 2025, a court appointed. There was a few years back when Biden was in office that he tried to get the DOJ to investigate it, but it didn't go nowhere. But anyway, they appointed a special mastered retired judge, Suzanne Segal. Summary judgment in UnitedHealthcare's favor, finding the DOJ evidence was insufficient to prove wrongdoing. In April 2nd, the DOJ formally objected to the special master's report, asking the court to reject it. There were representatives that were just outraged. I forget who they were. I didn't put it. I mean, I could have a 20-page document of all of this. Trust me. I just tried to shorten everything. So, in June 5th, a hearing was held on DOJ's objection, and the result was UnitedHealthcare secured a major win. The judge ruled and validated the company's position, with UnitedHealth spokesperson calling the DOJ decade-long case wasteful and expensive. This effectively closed out the original 2009 to 2016 allegations through the formal objection process. But the second case that started in 2004, so it got closed out, and UnitedHealthcare said, see, we didn't do anything. I guess it was something like the judge said it was the algorithm. Like there was no one person. They didn't do it on purpose. They didn't know. They didn't evaluate each one of those cases. Nobody looked at each medical record. So there was no wrongdoing. Something like that is what she said. But the second case, the new Department of Justice investigation, which started in 2024 to present, and it was the summer of 2024. So wasn't he murdered after that? The Wall Street Journal reports the DOJ opened a fresh civil fraud investigation examining UnitedHealthcare's practices for recording diagnosis that triggered extra Medicare Advantage payments, including at physician groups the company owns via Optum. Then in May 2025, and in between this time, Brian is shot. WSJ reports the investigation has also become criminal with DOJ's healthcare fraud unit involved. So their original case where the CEO and the COO were backdating something to make all these millions, they just paid a fine, like huge fines. And I'm not sure if they personally paid or the company paid. I think they personally paid, but they weren't indicted for criminal charges. I just find that ridiculous. But anyway, but this is going to be a criminal investigation. It was brewing before he died. Was he going to disclose something? So think again about Luigi Mangione. There's a lot of people, not as much as Tyler Robinson, that think he was set up. More people in the Tyler Robinson case think he was set up than this case. More people just don't care that Brian Thompson was shot. I don't know where that came from. It's kind of strange because nobody's hearing what really is going on with UnitedHealthcare. I mean, there's people that know about it, but not in the crime community. Nobody knows about it that's watching these trials and on YouTube. The only thing they're talking about is being denied coverage. Yeah, so it's become criminal. Wait, let me separate. And July 24th, 2025, a few months later, UnitedHealth formally confirms in an SEC filing that it is cooperating with both criminal and civil DOJ Department of Justice requests, stating it proactively contacted DOJ once reports surfaced and launched a third-party review of its billing practices. Now, this is alleged. There's an investigation going on, but nobody's been charged. And they've been cooperating, just for the record. The status as of early 2026, the investigation remains active and unresolved. No charges, settlement, or resolution reported. UnitedHealthcare continues to deny wrongdoing, citing independent CMS audits. It says confirm compliance. But, we all know the algorithms and all of that is going on with how they pay their claims. And nobody really looks at each claim to make sure it's correctly. But you're talking, I don't have how much money it is, but you're talking millions, maybe billions that potentially was billed to Medicare wrongfully. So, think about all of that. Anyway, On January, now we're going to go into the antitrust laws, which is not really a red flag, but there's something else in that I found that's a red flag. January 9th, 2017, acquisition announced. UnitedHealthcare Optum announces a $2.3 billion deal for surgical care affiliates. No antitrust challenge at signing. So they were fine with that acquisition. But in March 2017, the acquisition closed. No, in March 2017, a few months later, it closed and it becomes part of Optum. 2010 to 2017 uncovered later underlying misconduct. The SCA had secretly entered no-poach agreements with rival healthcare companies, agreeing not to recruit each other's executives. The conduct predated UnitedHealthcare's ownership, but became UnitedHealthcare's legal liability after acquisition. I don't know if that's anything. December 2017 acquisition announced. UnitedHealth and Optum announces a $4.3 billion acquisition of DaVita Medical Group. FTC opens a Nevada-focused investigation. So I guess that's the first investigation. And that is December 2017. So 2 years later, June 19, 2019, there's an antitrust settlement. The FTC approves the DaVita deal on condition that UnitedHealth divest DaVita's Nevada network to Intermountain Healthcare. Colorado's AG separately sues the same day over the Colorado Springs market. So they're going back and forth about antitrust laws and blah, 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 blah. January 6, 2021, acquisition announced. UnitedHealth Optum announces $13 billion deal to acquire Change Healthcare, merging it with Optum Insights. They want to do another merger. 2 days later, after they announced it, criminal antitrust indictment. The DOJ criminally indicts SCA, now an Optum subsidiary, over the 2010-2017 no-poach conspiracies, a Sherman Act violation, separate from the Change Healthcare. It gets really icky. That's not the point. I'll get to the point. 2021, in August of that same year, regulatory delay. UnitedHealth and Change Healthcare sign a timing agreement with DOJ agreeing to a 120-day wait after compliance with information requests. Then the next year in February, DOJ files a lawsuit. Joined by Minnesota and New York, sues to block the $13 billion Change Healthcare acquisition, alleging harm to commercial insurance and claims processing markets. And then a bench trial begins that August of 2022. Federal trial over DOJ's challenge begins in Washington, D.C. A couple months later, court ruling, Judge Carl Nichols rules against the DOJ, rejecting both horizontal and vertical antitrust theories. Only orders divestiture of Change Healthcare's claims unit. This is Biden DOJ's first litigated merger loss. So I guess Biden tried to intervene with the DOJ and he lost. A month later, the acquisition is closed. UnitedHealth Optum completes the $13.8 billion Change Healthcare acquisition. Claims X10 is sold to TPG Capital for $2.2 billion to satisfy satisfy the court's divestiture order. So the court just ordered him to UnitedHealthcare to divest something to be able to do what they wanted to do. Something like that. That was October the 3rd, 2022. February 12th, 2024, a cyber attack begins. Alpha V Black Cat Ransomware Group breaches Change Healthcare's network via an exposed Citrix portal lacking multi-factor authentication. Now, a lot of us have experienced data breaches where you get a letter from not Blue Cross, but like Target or there was a data breach. There was a data breach. It was a data breach, but it was a cyber attack data breach. That was February 12th. February 21st, ransomware deployed. Attackers encrypted Change Healthcare systems after 9 days of lateral movement and roughly 6 terabytes of data exfiltration, causing a nationwide disruption to claims and prescription processing. UnitedHealth later pays a $22 million ransom in Bitcoin. Roughly 100 million individuals' data is affected. Now remember, they're doing all these acquisitions and they're getting bigger and bigger. And the DOJ is trying to stop them, but they just figure out a workaround. So several days later, there's an antitrust investigation opened. DOJ opens a fresh antitrust probe into the UnitedHealth Optum's control over physician practices and vertical integration with UnitedHealthcare, distinct from the Change Healthcare matter. So, I mean, this antitrust thing is going back and forth. They're trying to become bigger and bigger and bigger. And then all of a sudden, there's this big extortion that's a data breach where it shuts down the whole healthcare industry with UnitedHealthcare. And they have to pay $22 million in ransom to Bitcoin. Sound like Nancy Guthrie Bitcoin? Is that strange? So we don't hear much about that, did we? I never heard about that. They were extorted. So there's a new antitrust investigation going on over the physician practices and vertical integration with UnitedHealthcare, distinct from the Change Healthcare matter. That's in February. November 12th, the DOJ lawsuit is filed, joined by Maryland, Illinois, New Jersey, New York sues to block UnitedHealth's proposed $3.3 billion acquisition of home health hospice. Now, let's just look for a minute. Because I forgot my date here. He was killed on December 4th, 2024. So this is going on after or before. Just before November 12th, 2024, a lawsuit is filed. Joined by Maryland, Illinois, New Jersey, and New York, they sue to block UnitedHealthcare's proposed $3.3 billion acquisition of home health hospice provider AIM Disease. December 9th is the final judgment. The federal court approves a settlement requiring UnitedHealthcare to divest at least 164 home health care and hospice locations across 19 states. UnitedHealthcare is far from alone. Medicare Advantage upcoding and fraud enforcement has become a systemic issue across nearly every major health insurer, with several already paying massive settlements. So you think turning down somebody's, not paying a claim for somebody that has cancer or that's sick, they're stealing from Medicare. A lot of it's systemic. Here's the allegation. During their home visit program that submitted false diagnostic codes from home visits from 2014 to 2019 to inflate Medicare Advantage risk scores, settled for $172 million in 2023, plus an earlier $37 million settlement, entered a 5-year corporate integrity agreement. Then in 2018, there's more diagnostic codes. 2009 to 2018, to boost MA reimbursement, settled for a record of $556 million, announced in January 14, 2026, the largest MA fraud settlement to date. Humana inflated Part D prescription drug plan bidding costs, separately sued the government over CMS's audit methodology. That's a $90 million settlement in 2024, plus $32 million in attorney fees, also fighting CMS in case judge refused to dismiss. Aetna. So there's several companies that are doing this billing fraud. But UnitedHealthcare got away with it from some retired judge that tried to drop it. But they reopened it. Years-long industry-wide DOJ enforcement wave targeting how Medicare Advantage plans get paid. Since MA plans are paid based on risk scores tied to how sick enrollees appear on paper, insurers have faced reoccurring allegations. Upcoding, adding diagnosis to patient charts that were never actually treated or confirmed. Chart review programs, hiring vendors to comb medical records specifically to find revenue boosting codes while ignoring corrections that would lower payments. The same score mechanic alleged against UnitedHealthcare. Kickback schemes, paying brokers to enroll beneficiaries regardless of plan suitability. A 2022 New York Times investigation of dozens of fraud lawsuits and inspector general audits found this exploitation pattern spans most of the major national insurers, not just one bad actor. DOJ and CMS have explicitly stated that Medicare Advantage oversight remains a top priority heading into 2026, with risk adjustment practice, coding intensity, and prior authorization abuse all still under the microscope. We'll see. 2026 is coming to an end. So what sets United Health situation apart from Cigna, Aetna, and Humana and Kaiser is scale and scope. It's facing a combined civil and criminal DOJ investigation. Most peers only face civil false claims Act suits. Plus, the CalPERS securities fraud litigation alleging executives traded stock on non-public knowledge of the probe, a dimension none of the other companies' case included. United Health also hasn't yet settled or been forced into corporate integrity agreement, unlike Cigna, meaning its case is still in the more volatile, unresolved investigatory phase than the others have already moved. Could this have something to do with Brian's murder? Looks more like a motive to me. There's some criminal charges might be coming. Did Brian Thompson know something? Was he going to blow? Was he going to save himself? Because he had to have known all this was going on. He's worked there for years. He's an financial operating officer, for God's sake. He knows exactly what's been going on there. But was he going to be criminally charged and then throw other people under the bus? Or they thought that? I'm just saying. I don't know. What do you think? Post in the comments. The DOJ's criminal probe into United Health Centers on physician-directed diagnosis upcoding with Medicare Advantage run in coordination with the FBI and HHS Office of Inspector General. What the criminal investigation actually covers. The core allegation is UnitedHealth allegedly deployed its own employed doctors and nurses to record patient diagnosis and treatment plans specifically designed to trigger higher reimbursements from CMS, the classic upcoding scheme, but pursued as a potential crime rather than just a civil billing dispute. Which, I don't understand why these healthcare companies are under the umbrella of, well, we'll just pay Medicare back if we get caught. These accountants know exactly what's going on. Don't tell me they don't. They know exactly what's going on. Start holding them accountable. This wouldn't go on no more. They know they're going to go to prison. If they know they can just pay and get out of it, apparently they paid and got out of stuff before. I mean, they have so much money. I mean, they have fancy attorneys. The DOJ is working with the FBI, and the HHS has been actively interviewing former UnitedHealthcare doctors and employees since at least the summer of 2024. So they're interviewing people before Brian Thompson is murdered. Prosecutors are questioning physicians about the training they received on how to document certain diagnosis and probing the validity of the test exams used to justify those diagnoses. Investigators are examining software UnitedHealthcare used to flag and prompt doctors toward documenting lucrative conditions or diagnosis that carry higher risk adjustment payments. I mean, I can't believe that special judge said, oh, they didn't know they were doing that. She said something like that. They can't be held accountable. They didn't know it was going on. They didn't look at each file. I can't believe that. There's another related but separate scandal, related whistleblower-driven scandal feeding into scrutiny of UnitedHealthcare, though it's somewhat distinct. A May 2025 Guardian investigation alleged UnitedHealthcare secretly paid nursing homes bonuses labeled premium dividends or shared savings to limit hospital transfers for Medicare Advantage enrollees, stationing its own medical teams in nearly 2,000 nursing homes to keep hospitalization metrics low. I mean, I don't know. I didn't dive into that. Oh, well, it says nurses that were the whistleblowers 2 former UnitedHealth nurses alleged this led to delayed emergency care, pressure to obtain do not resuscitate orders without consent, in at least one case of a resident suffering permanent brain damage. UnitedHealthcare pushed back hard, saying DOJ already investigated these nursing home claims for years, interviewed witnesses, and declined to pursue the matter due to significant factual inaccuracies. But see, they keep weaseling out of stuff. And it just gets worse and worse and worse. And it just continues. Despite that, the 2 U.S. senators expanded their own investigation into these nursing home allegations as recently as January 2026, following additional whistleblower testimony connected the hospital transfers, refusal to pay patient deaths, diagnostic upcoding, criminal and civil. Doctors documented inflating diagnosis for higher MA payments. Active doctors interviewed, no charges filed. Management, possible, nursing home bonus. DOJ review declined. Senator-led bonuses to limit hospital transferred alleged patient harm. DOJ closed its review. Senate probe is still expanding as of January 2026. There's been a lot going on with that company. And then the CEO is murdered. You don't think it has something to do with all of this? As of the latest reporting, no criminal charges have been filed in either matter. UnitedHealthcare maintains that independent CMS audits confirm its billing practices are among the most accurate in the industry. Well, they might be, because they're all doing it. So I will get into, let me know what you guys think about that, because I can go into more detail about the extortion. I didn't put it in my notes because we would have went way over in time, but basically they didn't catch who did it, but it's believed to be Russian mobsters that have like 2 or 3 different ethnicities that are in that group, but they never got caught. But another group got caught and arrested for doing the same thing. And they were 2 security officers that were related to like the IT portion. They were like inside. It was like an inside job. So it's very possible that there was an inside job going on that broke into their account and then actually threatened them with the Bitcoin that they had to pay. There's a whole thing on it. I just could go on and on. I mean, I could go on and on, so I just had to shorten it. But I think that's really odd. I think that's really odd that this stuff is going on. And UnitedHealthcare was targeted after they start acquiring all of these businesses, and they're getting too big, and they keep getting in trouble, and they keep getting out of it, and they keep expanding, and then all of a sudden they have everybody's healthcare information, and they've shut down the medical billing process for like weeks until the ransom was paid. It's just weird. It's just really weird. So there's some criminal stuff going on, or some, let's just say, shady stuff going on, allegedly. I mean, we do know some of the stuff that they've already paid out. And recently they also when they also did some insider trading information. Again, the same guy that was in trouble for it before is accused of doing it again recently. If you can believe that. I didn't put it in my notes because, like I said, I could go on and on and on. But next week, I'll probably do the timeline of the Mangione case of the suspected murderer from start that morning until the end, until the McDonald's got turned in. I'm still picking through some of it to sift through the media, what the media has told us versus what's actual fact, because it's hard for me to get. This is worse than the Tyler Robinson case. It happened longer ago, number one, and so I'm trying to backtrack for a couple of years. And number two, it's kind of a circus trying to figure out who said what and what's the facts. Because the media is saying all this stuff. Well, where'd they get it from? They didn't get it from a press conference. Where's the original source? I'm having trouble with that. So, but I will post my video next week. Hit like and subscribe and share the video. And hit the notification bell so you know when the next video comes up. I still might be covering the Tyler Robinson case. There's still a lot more to cover with that case that I want to get into. But anyway, thank you for watching. Your mental health tip for tonight is don't fester about the past. Don't think about the past. Quit bringing it up. It just causes depression. It already happened. And don't stress about the future. You can't control the future. Nobody knows what's going to happen tomorrow. So it's pointless to have anxiety over what might happen in the future. We don't know what's going to happen in the future. But what you can control is what you're doing right now. So stay in present moment. Keep bringing yourself back to present moment. Try to practice mindfulness. There's some apps, some games you can play. There's some things that you can do to train yourself to be more mindful of trying to be in the present mind. And that's going to lower your anxiety and your depression without medication, I might add. So thank you for watching. I hope if you're going to watch the Tyler Robinson case, that this helps you, because I'm going to pick a lot of stuff apart before we go to trial, so we know exactly what we're going to look for. So anyway, just remember this: Mangione's family is very wealthy, and I'll go into more detail about his family next week. But his family's very wealthy. They're not going to get away with a lot of stuff that they're probably going to get away with the Tyler Robinson case. His family's not wealthy, but the Mangione family is very wealthy. And I think you might see a different trial coming up. It'll be really interesting to see what happens. Anyway, take care. Have a good night. Thanks for watching. Bye.